How come it didn't say we're live?
Yeah, we are.
Oh my God, we're live, and this is noon on Wednesday, June 29th. With this is news that you can use with YAA, and that's noon Eastern, 9 Pacific, with your hosts Zach and Ray. And apparently, you caught me a little bit off guard this morning.
That's the least I could do for you, Pops. We are going to jump right into things, Dad. FTC, Federal Trade Commission, they are cracking down, Dad, on car dealers.
Cracking down.
Cracking down.
Yeah.
Thank you for that. Also, we're running the July 4th promo, 15% off if you become a YAA member. So use the code July and the number 4. Save thousands of dollars as you're going through the car buying process. Let us help. Pops, yes. Justin wrote a great article. We co-wrote it. Back on the Join YAA website. Take a peek there. I'm actually going to jump to the automotive news one because I want to start here, Dad. I want to start here, right about there.
Okay, where?
There? The Federal Trade Commission on June 27th, 2 days ago, they put out this notice of their proposed regulation. We're going to break down what that proposed regulation was in just a second here. And it was approved by a 4-1 vote. Yeah. Okay, so the FTC, there's a 5-person board that votes on proposed regulations. Now, proposed regulations do not become rules immediately. They have to go through a comment period and a whole multi-month process. There was one dissenting vote, Dad.
Well, one must wonder what's wrong with Christine Wilson as to why she would be dissenting.
All right. So, what do?
Yes. You
Google
look her up.
Google. I mean, how could you not? How can you possibly dissent against what we're going to describe here in a second, which is essentially just making car dealerships act more ethically?
Yes.
Where do you think Miss Wilson lives and is from? Let me stop sharing. What state?
Well, I couldn't read that, but I'm going to guess she's from Michigan.
You think she's from Michigan? Okay.
Yes. And
why Michigan?
Well, that's where the big 3 automobile manufacturers are located in Michigan. That's where their corporate headquarters are. And I'm just guessing that she has a background in automotive on the retail side, and maybe her family owns dealerships or something along those lines.
Pops, I hate to break it to you, you're wrong. It's actually...
I don't have any family in Central Florida. I'm not looking for any family in Central Florida. Okay.
Miss Wilson is from the great state of Florida, Dad.
Yes.
What more do I need to tell you?
Okay. She spent too much time in the sun. The humidity is getting to her. It's what?
Florida is the wild, wild west for car dealers. Actually, and I'm going to pull it up. We had a community member, and forgive me, I didn't have this prep, so give me 1 second to pull it up.
Yes.
Greg Smith, I think is what it was. Man, we had, let me see if I can find it really quickly. Florida.
Okay.
Can you vamp?
Yeah, so she lives in Central Florida, and what does she do? What's her claim to fame?
Attorney. She's an attorney, Dad.
Okay, well, I didn't know. I mean, a claim to fame. So she ranks just about in public sentiment along the lines with automobile salespeople.
Yeah, pretty much.
Well, if you're telling me she's an attorney.
Yes. All right, here we go. We had a community member send this in to me, Dad. This is a former franchise owner in the state of Florida.
Okay.
Right? You ready for this?
Mm-hmm.
He said, one thing you need to keep in mind is that dealers like Gary Smith and his family have been in business for over 50 years. Gary Smith, this was a community member who sent me that Ford F-150 Lightning that had been marked up considerably, and Gary Smith is found in Florida. In the state of Florida, if you signed a franchise agreement before 1995, you are grandfathered in forever, and the dealer cannot be terminated unless he is breaking state law. As you know, asking for more than the manufacturer's suggested retail price is not a crime or considered gouging according to the state of Florida. So that is why Ford is dancing around the situation. And then Paul here said, I was a dealer for 15 years and a general manager for 10 years in Florida. I have quite a bit of background in automotive law, as well as running dealerships. My family has been in it for more than 40 years. So if you have any law or other questions your dad would like to ask, just let me know. The reason I bring that up, Dad, is Florida is incredibly pro-business, and Florida is also incredibly...
anti-consumer.
helpful to car dealers.
Well, yeah, they're incredibly helpful to car dealers, but they're also incredibly anti-consumer.
Yeah, they
They
really,
they
really
they
are.
do they do very little to help consumers when there's obvious reasons for them to step in and try and protect the consumers that they've been elected to protect.
And so, what are the proposed rules that that the FTC has actually, tried to push across the finish line here, Dad? Let's break those down.
Okay.
We've got the first one, and that again, Miss Christine Wilson said, "I don't agree to this." The first one is selling products with no benefit to the customer. The new FTC rule would ban all add-ons that do not add any benefit to the product, to the purchase of the vehicle. Examples include products like the nitrogen-filled tires that contain no more nitrogen than is normally found in the air, or duplicitous warranty coverages and unwarranted gap insurance. There would be a form that the car buyer would have to sign off on that
Hmm.
says, like, I'm not buying things that add no value to the vehicle, and the dealership wouldn't be able to sell them. That sounds like a really good thing, doesn't it?
To everyone but Miss Wilson's. Yeah.
All right. Maybe she didn't agree with this next one, Dad.
Yeah.
Advertising the real price of the car online. How
No,
many times
stop
have
it.
you
Stop,
inquired
stop,
about this?
stop it advertising the real. Stop it. That's
No, I
not what
could. Yeah,
advertising is.
I
Advertising
could.
is deceptive, isn't it? Isn't that what everybody tells you? It's deceptive.
I could see why we wouldn't want to pass a regulation that says the car dealer has to advertise the real price of the vehicle.
Yeah, I mean, why would we want to protect consumers in such a manner that the advertised price has to be, well, the price that you're actually selling the vehicle for? Uh, that would be a terrible thing to do for people.
We've got here the third piece of the
Um,
regulation
may
that
may
that
I say
FTC.
that was all said with a satiric bent to it.
Non-discriminatory practices for cash buyers. Dad, what a crazy world it would be. The price is the price, whether you finance or you pay cash. The FTC
Oh,
wants that instated.
oh my God, you mean so like the dealers in Texas that have been saying to their customers, hey, if you don't finance it through us, we're not taking your check. You can't pay cash. Yeah, okay. Why would we want to protect consumers that way?
Enhanced consent from F&I products. Express informed consent would be required for add-ons commonly purchased on buyers in the finance and insurance office when buying a new car. What would be different disclosures and consent options must go beyond a signed or initial document by itself or a pre-checked box, the FTC said. Yeah, you'd actually have to get verbal, more written confirmation from the customer that, hey, yeah, I do want to buy the tire and wheel protection. I do want to buy these different products. Please do not sneak them on to my buyer's
Yes.
order.
That's another thing that would just be bad for consumers. Please stop it. What is the FTC thinking about, I don't know, actually possibly trying to protect consumers when it comes to making the second largest purchase that they're ever going to make in their lifetime?
And you can see here, FTC Commissioner Christine Wilson felt, quote, unlawful practices persist within the auto retail industry, but said the proposal courted unintended but negative consequences. Commissioner Wilson cited prior regulations which had hurt competition and proved difficult to keep current. Interestingly, she also cited the rise of direct-to-consumer sales and Carvana's online sales models as reasons for opposing the rule. Interesting, Dad. It'll be really, really interesting to see what the NADA has to say about this. Already kind of making some waves within the industry because it's pretty clear that there should be these rules in place that protect consumers when they go to buy a car.
There was a comment from, I think, our video yesterday from one of our viewers from the United Kingdom. And
Yeah.
in the United Kingdom, they have to, if they advertise the price, it has to be the on the road price, including all the fees. And you can't adjust that, but you can, as a buyer, you can go in and try and negotiate that lower, but that's the maximum that you would pay. And it's plain and it's in English for everybody to be able to read. It's disclosed. And there's no reason why you wouldn't want to have automobile dealers advertise that way. It's not like we would be okay if Kohl's ran an ad in Sunday's paper saying that a certain brand polo shirts are $19.99, and then when you get to the store, it's $19.99 plus a pressing fee, because we had to steam those shirts so that they look better, and the pressing fee is another $4. Oh, and then there's a bagging fee. And the bagging fee, because bags cost money, and so the bag that's another $3.
Yeah.
And then there's the register tape fee, because there's paper involved in generating that receipt, and that's
Yeah.
another. They don't allow that, so why do we allow dealers to get away with all this bogus nonsense? And how can anybody in their right mind say, no, we wouldn't want to do something like this. Let's just keep it the way it is. How many hundreds of thousands of complaints are filed every year with consumer protection agencies, or attorney general's offices throughout the country? And most of them are never adjudicated in any way, shape, or form, either because the states are uninterested in doing it, or they don't have the resources to do it, or they just think it's too small potatoes to do it. But
I think you're missing out on one piece, Dad, which is also maybe it would personally hurt them if they did it. I can't imagine that there's not a lot of corruption, bribing, things like that go on within the rulemaking in this country. I'm not naive enough to think that doesn't happen.
It's not the it is the rulemaking
and the
it's
rule
also,
enforcement
and the enforcement, and so that there's usually very little enforcement. And that goes back to my rant from a few days ago, which is, if you're elected to protect your constituents, and your constituent has an issue, then that means you have an issue. Every one of your constituents' issues becomes your issue, and you need to help fix it. And if you are not willing to do that, then I don't know what's a polite way of saying it. Get the hell out of your office. You shouldn't be there. If your only desire to be there is to accept political action committee contributions, and perhaps line your pockets. I'm sorry, I'm good. I'm done. I'll be good.
All right, I just want to mention Paul is actually here with us. Paul was the one that I was referencing his email just a moment ago. So thank you, Paul, for being here. It's great to have really knowledgeable people within our community. Most everyone here actually is.
Yes.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, yes, I agree. Most are. In our
we didn't get a chance to cover this the other day, Dad, so I want to pull it up on the screen right now. The Black Book data came out, and we also had Cox Automotive downgrade their expected total year sales volume.
Yes.
Just want to pull this up on the screen. We can chat briefly about it. We've seen the used car market start to plateau, at least for the market as a whole. Some segments of vehicles like compact cars, subcompact cars are still continuing to appreciate quite nicely, and your gas guzzlers are continuing to depreciate.
Yes.
There were not too many material changes in the market on the used car side, and really we talked about a bit yesterday, Dad, you and me off camera. That's how I think about the market. I feel like we're kind of at a new normal. This is the new used car market. Prices are not going to go too high up or too far down, and less cars are actually going to get sold as well.
And I agree with that. It's we're finally we're not seeing the same type of increases or decreases that we have seen in the past. It truly is a leveling off.
Seems that way.
Especially in comparison to what we had seen in the previous 18 months or so, where used car values just skyrocketed.
Look at the huge decline in used car prices here. The huge increase in used car prices. The huge decrease in used car prices. The huge increase, decrease. And you can actually, you can really see it, right? It's very clear that it's huge. Okay, and it's trickling
not so
out.
Big anymore. Yes, so it's definitely leveling off. And at some point, hopefully, we will see that reflected in retail asking prices. But I don't know when that very well might not happen unless we have a recession.
Tony asking, are there updated repossession reports? Haven't seen anything yet. I'll keep my eyes posted for data on repossessions and loan delinquencies. Haven't seen anything on that front yet, Tony. Now, Pops Cox Automotive also mentioned that they think their full year sales forecast is downgraded to 14.4 million vehicles sold. It had been originally new vehicles sold, had originally been 16 million vehicles sold. So we're definitely seeing a slowdown in the market right now.
Well, we're seeing a slowdown in the market for two reasons. The major reason is that the manufacturers can't produce the requisite number of cars to get to that level, the levels that everybody thought they would be at through this year. So yes, and then the market has softened to a certain degree. I mean, there's still demand, and the demand outstrips the supply at the moment. So that's what's making it different. If the supply was there, okay, if they were able to build the cars, then I don't think there would have been any issue with them getting to somewhere between 15.5 and 16 million new vehicles sold in this country. But they just can't produce the cars. They haven't been able to produce the cars in the numbers that would allow them to get to that volume.
We had an update even from Toyota just earlier today from 3 hours ago. 5.3%, they forgot their percentage point here, fewer vehicles were produced in May this year than last year. And if you remember, you can go back on the channel. May of last year, you know what we were talking about? Supply chain issues, chip shortage, the whole 9 yards. So Toyota's down 5.3% in May this year as compared to last year. Their output totaled 634,000 vehicles in May. That they're targeting that they need to produce at least a minimum 750,000 vehicles per month for the remainder of this year. It's fairly obvious they're not going to be able to do that.
More than likely not. Because every week to 10 days they turn around and announce another cut in production. So we're just waiting for that other shoe to drop.
Unfortunately, when the largest automaker in the entire world is cutting production, that's not a good outlook for everyone else. It's disappointing to have to continue to report these headlines that things are just not getting better, but it's also going to take a considerable amount of time before they do, and that's part of the story.
Well, this is a news show, and we don't make the news. We just share the news that's out there. We would love for it to be good news, something that would be a tad bit more positive for consumers out there.
I've got one story that we'll hit on that I know is more positive. But in the meantime, Dad.
Yes, go ahead. Yes.
I'll put something on your radar that we hadn't discussed in advance. Did you see the Hyundai Ioniq 6, the announcement yesterday?
You mean that really good-looking spaceship-y type car?
Dad, I saw this yesterday. I'll put up on the screen for everyone as well. Justin on our team did a great write-up back on the Join YAA website. So why don't I actually go to that one? Let's all do it together.
May I say that if imitation is the sincerest form of flattery, then Mercedes should be very, very thrilled with the look of the new Ioniq 6, because it looks eerily like the EQS.
Dad, have Hyundai and Genesis and Kia, they've just made it abundantly clear they are happy to take creative inspiration from
everyone. Yeah, they don't care if they see something that they think is nice. They don't care where it came from. They're just going to copy it. And they do a great job of copying it. Now, I won't swear that the quality of the materials is the same as what you would find in the Mercedes-Benz. My suspicion would be they're not. But my God, it was like, okay, let's build a Mercedes and put a Hyundai hood sticker on it.
Which Genesis has been doing for a while now, haven't they?
Well, when we had years and years and years ago, when we had that Hyundai Sonata, I was amazed, when I would be in the car and I'd look around and I would look at different aspects of it and I'd go, oh, that came from Mercedes. Oh, this came from BMW. Oh, and you could just pick out the brands they were stealing their ideas from. But it's much cheaper probably have the original idea. I'm just thinking.
Probably, but hey, supposedly the Ioniq 6, Justin thinks it's going to come in at a sub $40,000 MSRP, which would be pretty remarkable because we know how expensive electric vehicles are to produce, and the EQS is nowhere near $40,000. Let's be very clear about that.
My guess is that the Ioniq 6 won't be anywhere near $40,000.
My guess is that it is, and that the actual out the door price is going to be closer to $60,000. I think you're going to see a lot of markups on the Ioniq 6.
Perhaps.
I mean,
what was the MSRP on the Ioniq 5?
I think it was
the one that Justin got was in the 50s. Maybe they started sub 40.
Exactly. Let me see what the starting MSRP is. From $39,950.
Sub 40 by $50.
By $50, yes.
Yeah.
All right, Dad, we've got some other recall news in the headlines today. Yesterday, we talked a little bit about the Toyota recall, the Subaru recall, the Ford recall.
Yes.
Today, unfortunately, we've got news from Nissan, and we also have, interestingly enough, a probe being opened up at Honda. Nissan recalled 360,000 Pathfinders. A hood latch could affect the vehicle and ultimately open the hood up while in motion. You've actually experienced that once before.
I have. It was in an AMC Gremlin or Hornet, and it happened to be a green Hornet, as a matter of fact. And I was on Interstate 95 driving through Wilmington, and I was in the far left-hand lane, the speed lane, when suddenly I just heard this horrendous noise, a huge thud, a thundering thud. And, well, I couldn't see anything because the hood had flown open and compressed itself against the windshield. And I could see like there was a sliver that I could look at or look through and stick my head out the window to see some things. And I thought to myself, well, I could jam on the brakes and, I don't know, get rear-ended and killed, or I can somehow try and figure out, using my rear view and side view mirrors, how to move over to the right lane and get the hell off of Interstate 95 and pull the hood down. Which
that must have scared the hell out of you.
I have at 65 or 70 miles an hour, I have never been more frightened in my life. And so I know the dangers of that happening. And most people, I would suspect, would absolutely just panic and hit the brakes. And that's the last thing you should do. But yeah, it's, I believe debris could get into the latch. And so the secondary hood latch doesn't connect, and then obviously if you're driving and air gets under there, wind gets under there, it forces the other latch to unlock, and the next thing you know, you can't see anything.
Yeah, unfortunately, so this is 2013 to 2016 Pathfinders, 322,000 of them here in the United States, and another 37-ish thousand in Canada. So it's a significant recall, and this one is one that could definitely, this is like the BZ4X with the wheels falling off. This is not an over-the-air update, far from it.
No, and this will be a huge money maker for the dealers, because they'll be able to make a nice warranty claim, and they'll collect. It'll help the bottom line of the dealerships, and especially help the bottom line of the service departments when they're handling all these recalls.
Now, Pops, the probe that's been opened up at Honda, this is becoming more and more of a storyline, because we're even seeing it with like systems within Tesla. I remember my old Volvo used to do this as well. NHTSA wants more info from Honda in probe of 1.7 million vehicles for alleged unintended braking. NHTSA launched the formal safety probe in February after receiving 278 reports alleging inadvertent activation of the automatic emergency braking system in 2018 to 2019 Honda Accords and Honda CR-V compact crossovers.
You know, that reminds me of when we drove cross country on my previous Mini, and it had the adaptive cruise control, and I don't know, you'd be going up a hill, and you know, it's looking at the sky, and the next thing you know, the cruise control goes off, and it just suddenly starts slowing down.
Yep.
And that's a tad bit disconcerting when it happens. Have no idea what would cause that in the Hondas, but unintended braking is there. I guess the two worst things that could happen are unintended acceleration and not being able to get the car to slow down when that happens, or unintended braking, especially if there are people behind you when that happens. That's not a small amount of vehicles at
No.
1.7 million.
And the reason I pulled this up, Dad, is it's also Acura vehicles. So it's the 2017 to 2018 Acura RDX, 2017 to 2019 Honda Civics, 17 to 19 Pilots, and 2019 Passport vehicles, all in the United States. And again, this happens like very frequently. I think, I mean, the headlines, obviously, Honda. We hear about things with Tesla vehicles. Again, my personal experience from when I used to own a Volvo, that thing would just break occasionally. It'd be like just doing its thing. Okay, I'm going to brake. It never felt like I was going to lose control of the vehicle or anything like that, but it should have never done that. And so obviously with a brand like Honda, that's not a good headline to have, but it's also a massive number of vehicles that millions of people are driving.
Is it like a computer where you should just shut it down and restart it and then hope that it works that kink out when it's rebooting?
I mean, yeah, but it's a car, man. I don't know how you're going to do that.
Oh, that was my point. Yeah, it's really kind of hard to do.
Yeah, it really, really is. Pops, why don't we turn our attention towards some happy stories, some good things going on in the community?
Okay. Yeah.
That sound good to you?
Yes, I love happy stories.
I do too. All right, I'm going to share my screen here and let's do it. Come back over. So this is coming by way of the YAA community forum. Success stories. Almost 500 success stories have been posted. I want to read to you. Where is it? Yes, it's right here. This one's from Carlos, Dad. Can you see that on your screen?
Carlos Martinez from 3 days ago. Apparently, I can see it.
After contacting over 10 dealerships in a 400-mile radius to find a Mazda CX-30 Turbo Premium in polymetal gray, we finally got a decent deal in this market. I sent over some emails with the help of the YAA email templates and some help with the lease numbers from Space. It took only 3 to 4 emails with Genesis Polson at Toodle Click Mazda in Irvine to get
Tuttle Click.
Total click. Thank you, Pops.
Yeah.
Mazda in Irvine to get the numbers I'd been trying to get after contacting all those dealerships. Got it at MSRP with a base money factor and no dealer add-ons. We reserved the vehicle about 5 days before it got to the dealer's lot, and when we arrived to sign the paperwork, all the numbers we spoke about through the email were honored, which was a big relief. Best money I ever spent signing up for the premium membership to get one-on-one help from the guys here at YAA. I easily saved about $2,000 by getting tips from Space, email templates, and videos. Remember, if a dealership isn't willing to negotiate with you, move on to the next one. It's not worth the hassle. Patience is also important. That's a good-looking Mazda CX-30.
That is, which had I not just, flopped for the Mini that I got, we were talking with Brian Foley at Pacifico Mazda about, an incoming CX-30. That very well could have been my vehicle. Well, not that particular but that was the direction I was headed until, I got sidetracked.
For sure. Your Mini is pretty awesome, but it's a perfect example that there are still good stories out there. Incredibly. I mean, the work that we're doing is more important now than ever before. Even a year ago, it's more important now. Things like the dealer reviews, things like having access to experts like Space, Justice, Phil, Kimberly on the team. I mean, it's more important than ever before to actually put in a little bit of work, because it could and will cost you thousands of dollars. I think that's also partly why the FTC is waking up a little bit now. They've seen so many people get screwed over the past year that they realize they need to do something.
Really? Well, what about the millions that had gotten screwed over the last several decades? They didn't care about them.
Yeah,
I think it's wonderful that the FTC wants to come to the party. I really do. They're just, I don't know, 30, 40, 50 years late. But other than that, it's perfect. And the fact that they've had this proposal, and it would take, I'm assuming, at minimum 18 months before it could ever be implemented.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah. So there's no relief in sight for the time being, other than utilizing the services of YAA, where the people, the staff, the team is committed to trying to help people save money. And we've said it before, there are deals out there. You just have to be patient. You just have to be willing to put in the time, effort, and energy to find them and not give up instantly.
Pops, FTC is just talking, all noise and deep inside. You know it. Yeah, you're probably right, Igor. You're probably right. All right, Dad. You have a drive this afternoon. We're doing an interview with David Chow from Automotive Press at 2 p.m. And then we'll have a video coming out on the YAA channel shortly, probably later this week or next week. His take on the chip shortage and supply chain issues. So we're doing that interview with David today at 2 p.m. Super excited about that. Maybe we'll put a little snippet up on our Instagram. So if you're not following my dad here, I'll do a quick promo for your Instagram.
Well, if you're not following your dad, you're better off. But for those of you who don't want to see much posted, then you definitely want to follow me.
Follow the you're at Your Advocate Alliance over on Instagram. My dad is at Raz is Jazz, RASISJAZ, and I am at Shufska. We might post some snippets from the David Chow interview that we do a little bit early. And then, Pops, you're driving back here to the office. We're going to be in person tomorrow. I'm really looking forward to that.
We are, assuming everything goes well on the drive. I hope to get to Bethesda sometime around 7 o'clock. And then I have a phone conversation with your brother-in-law so that we can finish setting up my Arrive Canada app on my phone but for the big trip on Friday when we, as a family, fly up to Montreal for the Montreal Jazz Festival for the weekend.
Yes, super excited about that. We'll share more details about our travels and an upcoming trip with the community tomorrow on the show.
Yes. Okay. Works for me.
All right. I love you, Pops. I also love the FTC. You heard it here first.
Well, you know, I would prefer you say you love Laura, but what can I tell you? You know, if it's the FTC, it's the FTC. You got to love something or somebody. In the meantime, folks, we'll see you back here again tomorrow at noon with more news that you can use from YAA. That's noon Eastern, 9 Pacific.
See you, Pops. See you guys.
Yep. See you later, everybody. Have a good day.